So I generally like Tim Pool. He's funny, informative, and I think I mostly agree with his takes. But like anyone, there are some times where I think you're dead wrong. And one of his most recent stances regarding the Austin Metcalf stabbing at the hands of fellow track athlete Karmelo Anthony is one of those scenarios where he took the side that it was self-defense.
For many of you, you may have seen this. A story of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. Here's the Kai Kindle Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Here's a tent. You can see it's cordoned off. So apparently there was an argument between Karmelo Anthony, who was from a rival school, who was there, and there were a bunch of kids from this town or whatever, and they got into an altercation. They told him he wasn't supposed to be there. Apparently they had words. Karmelo Anthony pulled a knife out from his bag and said, "Touch me and see what happens." Witnesses said either he was touched or grabbed. There were different accounts, but that Austin Metcalf did put hands on Karmelo, who then stabbed him once in the chest before running away. According to police, Karmelo Anthony, when he got apprehended or turned himself in, however the story goes, I mean, different accounts, he asked if Austin was going to be okay and said it was self-defense. He said he grabbed me and I said self-defense. It's strange to me that with this story, the right is adamant that this kid just killed another kid and he should go to prison forever. And I'm like, we don't even know what happened. Like, you've got witness testimony that sounds like a fight happened at a school. Then I've heard the argument, yeah, well, he shouldn't have had a knife. He brought a knife to a school, and it's like, okay, what kind of knife was it? Was it a utility knife? Was it a switchblade? Was it a machete? Like, did he have a steak knife? Was he coming back from culinary class where he had fine Japanese blades for cutting cucumbers? I have no idea. You're allowed to carry knives I'm pretty sure in Texas, especially if it's like a utility blade. You're also not allowed to grab people.
Okay, so let's start here. In case you didn't know about Texas law, possession of a knife with the blade over 5.5 inches in certain locations, including school property and school events, is restricted. And according to my sources, witness reported that Karmelo Anthony, the perpetrator, used what they recall to be a black knife and stabbed Metcalf once in the chest before running away. And that authorities recovered a bloody knife in the bleachers, which I guess we'll find out what kind of knife was used at the trial. So while I think that might change the extent to which charges are brought against Anthony, I think it's a red herring because, for one, he was a junior at Frisco Centennial High School, and he attended the track meet to support his school team but not compete. And also, witnesses told police that Anthony was sitting under the Memorial High School tent, aka the tent of a school that was not his, and was told to leave. Anthony allegedly told Metcalf, "Touch me and see what happens." One witness then told police that Metcalf then pushed Anthony to get him out of the tent, and Anthony then reached into his bag to stab him. And after the officer mentioned to others that he had the alleged suspect in custody, the report states that Anthony said, "I'm not alleged, I did it," later asking, "Is he Austin going to be okay, and if it was self-defense?" And also, according to the Texas Penal Code, it's an offense to enter and remain on or in someone's property, aka land, park, building, etc., without effective consent and refuse to leave if the person had noticed that they were not allowed there. And so not only did he refuse to leave, but he then threatened to and actually pulled out a knife and stabbed. So one could argue that he had a plan in place. That he purposely went into the wrong tent to instigate, thinking to get a reaction, aka premeditation. Yes, people have their own volition, and in the case of Austin Metcalf, maybe for his own sake, should have not even touched Karmelo Anthony. Maybe he could have told an adult at that meet who could then tell Karmelo to leave. I don't know, but we've all at some point got into a confrontation when we should just back down because it's not worth it. But in any of those cases, it should not be a death sentence. But no, Tim decides to double down and make a crappy comparison to a house party.
What is it? Nothing matters but this. He was at a school event at the wrong team's tent with a knife. He clearly chose murder than to walk away, cut and dry here. Nope, wrong. Imagine you are invited to a party at someone else's house and you are legally carrying a firearm. And then a fight breaks out, or like an altercation breaks out between you and some guy, and there's drinking involved or whatever. I'm not trying to make a one-for-one scenario. I'm trying to create a potential scenario separate from this one with similarities. Yeah, let's say you go to a party. And some guy starts saying stuff like, "Yo, man, get out of here." And you're like, "I can do what I want. I was invited to the party." Verbal altercation escalates. And then the dude, you're standing there and you pull your sweater back and you've got a gun. You put your hand up and say, don't come close to me, bro. I'm warning you right now. Do not come close. Do not take another step. Then the guy grabs your arm and makes a move. So you draw your weapon and you use it. Okay. Make the argument. You have no right to defend yourself when you're being attacked by a guy. Make the argument. By all means, go ahead and do so. I ain't going to do it. I don't know the circumstances. You can argue that you're in a place you're not supposed to be. You can argue it's that guy's house, and it doesn't matter. A guy can invite you into your neighbor could be like, "Come on over, brother." And then if he gets physical with you, you can defend yourself. And then what? The police are going to be like, "Well, you were in his house." And it's like, "Yeah, you invited me in." It's like, the door was open.
Hey Tim, according to the Texas Penal Code, you are also allowed to use force if you believe it's necessary to stop someone from trespassing or unlawfully interfering with your property. So if the guy didn't invite you in, but the door was open and you decided to walk in, it's still unlawful for you to be on someone's property. So Tim got this seriously wrong, at least with the facts that we have now. And the online response echoed that to the nth degree. As BIPOC Doing Racism posted, Tim Pool is an R-word, with a cartoon of defending someone offing another person for grabbing their bag when they ask them to leave. Or Bumbadum, Tim Pool is a slovenly, fat, double-chinned, balding R-word who thinks you should die for telling a black person to go to their school's tent. Which to me is like, okay, don't ad hominem people no matter how ridiculous their take is, and thankfully, there were some sensible takes. Philip Anderson here said, Tim Pool, this might come as a surprise to you, but stabbing someone at a track meet because they told you to move out of their spot isn't self-defense. Or Ian Miles Chong, Tim Pool has completely lost the plot. He's passionately defending the unjust slaying of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, calling it self-defense and acting as if Anthony was justified in taking his life. Unfollowed. Which personally I wouldn't unfollow, I'd chalk it up to a bad take, but that's just me and my experience with Tim's content. But Ian is also entitled to do it if he wants to, and it's not an ad hominem attack. Now, all this on the surface seems to have made Tim backpedal on April 10th, first saying, everyone else is right, I was wrong. The moment politicians put up a sign saying no weapons, any use of a weapon in that space is murder no matter what. Our right to bear arms ends where people vote. Then said, you have no right to claim self-defense just for being pushed or grabbed. If the people vote to ban weapons from schools and you bring one, you're a felon if you use it. You're a murderer. Which totally missed the point. As Jack pointed out, it's not murder because he ignored the sign, but because it was a disproportionate response. Look, Tim is a human and we all get it wrong at some point, but his take is contributing to a narrative that could set a dangerous precedent, in my opinion. I mean, people are already seeming to care more about the perpetrator than the victim, as Anthony's Give Send Go is at over 387K at this time of recording, whereas the Metcalf family has 334K on their GoFundMe. And look, Anthony is entitled to have legal representation in a day in court. Now, facts are going to come out later and there's always more to the story, but with the info that we have now, Anthony was disproportionately in the wrong. But guys, I want to thank you all for watching this video as always, and if you appreciated my commentary, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned a subscription. Here's some more videos for you to watch in the meantime. Until next time, peace out.